Estado de Zacatecas, como te recuerdo por donde yo voy.
Hi guys, welcome back to a new episode. This is your host Diana.
And this is your co-host Cyntia.
And this is Chingonas Talk About It. I feel like I've been doing it a lot.
Yeah.
How are you, hermana?
Good. How are you? I have to ask you now.
Bitch, I'm good.
So,
oh my god, tell me why you look very nice.
You look very nice as well.
Are we gonna go out?
I mean, maybe.
I don't know, but I love when Cynthia puts her hair like that.
Yeah, she likes this.
She did it once for New Year's Eve and I was like, just do that.
Keep it going.
Drop your phone. Excuse me.
Thank you, sister.
Let me drop your shit, bro.
Yeah, my bad. So we're kind of matching shirt styles without even planning it. She got to my house 1 second ago.
I got to her house 1 second ago. There's a lot of traffic. I don't know what the fuck is going on over here in the south side. I know there's shit going on in the north side. Like, there's a lot of, like, American Fest. The German Fest. ¿Te acuerdas del German Fest? Cuando vivías allá en el rancho conmigo ya?
Yeah, for real.
And when I mean el rancho, I mean north side.
Yeah. What is it? Lincoln?
The German Fest, bro.
But what is it? What is it called?
Lincoln Fest and shit. I don't know.
No, is it Lincoln?
The German American Fest.
No, I know, mami. Yo estoy hablando del neighborhood. ¿Cómo se llama?
Lincoln Square.
Lincoln Square.
Lincoln Square. If you guys know, you know. Lincoln Square is always popping with the German Fest. The German Fest low key be popping. Like, that beer is actually really good, and I don't fuck with beer. It's good.
Yeah, I remember we tried it there, and then me and Luis kept on buying it. Like,
yeah, cuñado likes it, right?
Because he loves beer.
Yeah, low key shout out to my cuñado. Yeah, so I just got here. I was driving with Bentley. If you guys saw the last episode, you guys met Bentley Figueroa. Bentley Figueroa is growing by the minute.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to stay still. Like, legit a baby. Like, I put him in my lap. I was like fucking down Lakeshore Drive, and had Bentley in my lap, and he just was crying. He could not stay still, and I think I was gonna die.
Yeah.
I was gonna crash.
A little dramatic.
Super dramatic, but honestly, like, I couldn't, like, you know, like, he was like
juggle everything at once.
Next thing you know, I'm not in pinche pedal and shit, like, you know.
Yo me boto a la verga because, like, I cannot multitask.
Yeah, and low-key, I was thinking about that, like, Cynthia can't multitask, but I was, like, driving, and then, like, there's a lot of traffic. People, I'm going to the south side. I don't know if it's, like, the fucking car meets, the fucking 15 de septiembre van a empezar todo el puto mes. Have you seen that shit, bro?
No.
Let's jump into that shit. Like, have you seen that shit?
No, ¿qué pedo?
Güey, acá en tu barrio, que las pinches trocas del año.
No salgo, nomás aquí de la Pershing a la Ogden, and that's it.
Guys, inviten a mi hermana a salir para que
For
pueda
real.
ver todas las flags.
Like, if y'all need your groceries done, hit me up. I'll fucking do that.
I am fucking dead. No, but, like, there's, you know, it's the Mexican Independence Day. The 15, right? So todo el pinche mes, agarran todo el año and shit. Yeah. Pero este mes estrenan que la pinche patria.
Pues yo llevo 32 años con el nopal en la frente.
I'm dead. Güey, yo ahorita los traigo aquí. But yeah, I've seen a lot of trucks, like, you know, dando la vuelta and puro pinche party and shit.
Okay.
Gotta be careful out there because some motherfuckers, like, swear, like,
se
aprovechan y they be doing the most y luego ya quedamos mal pinches paisas and shit. Right?
Yeah, it's always the paisa's fault.
Yeah, it's always the paisa's fault. So just because some paisas are dumb doesn't mean we're all dumb. Kind of. But how was your week?
It was good.
It went by fast.
It flew.
Yeah. What'd you do?
Nada. Really? Just work.
No, you've been posting some stuff on Creations, so what's up? Tell them.
Well, I told you I came back to work. Fucking ComEd coming after me. Que your bill's doing so-and-so days. Don't tell me when my bill's due. I'm going to pay it when I feel like I need to pay it.
Ya que te llega el papel rojo and shit.
Yeah.
Dead.
Te lo juro que nunca en mi vida he visto ese papel rojo.
Oh, okay. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. You want to talk about it?
No. Let's just say the north side is expensive. Guys, subscribe. I'm dead.
So support.
Guys, apoyen a las plebadas aquí. The week did go by fast, but it was like low-key, like Monday was Tuesday, but Tuesday felt like Monday. So
oh, that's right. We had a short week.
Yeah, we had a short week, but low-key it was like long. At least for me, it felt long.
No wonder it flew by.
Yeah, right? What's that? How's your morning routine? Do you still have like a lot of shit to do, or now that Creations is back in the table, like full on?
Yeah, I still have a lot to do. That's why my fitness journey has to start that early. But
so what time do you wake up? Tell the people what time you wake up.
If you guys need anything, I am available after 4:45 a.m.
Bro, ¿te levantas a esa hora?
Te lo juro por Dios.
No mames, pero ¿por qué?
Mira, déjate enseñar mi alarma porque
pero ¿por qué sufres?
presiento que no me crees.
No, pero ¿por qué sufres? No quiero que sufras, hermana.
Es que me encanta la comida, güey.
No, a mí también, güey.
¿Sabes?
No mames.
Te lo juro. Y a las
Guys,
6:45...
what the fuck?
A las 6:45 de la mañana tengo que estar de regreso because that's Julie's bus comes at 6:55.
Todavía está llegando a las 6:45.
A las 6:55 llega.
Damn.
So that's why I have 2
¿No
alarms.
su teléfono del bus driver para decir que se tome su tiempo?
For real though. That's why
I have bus driver's numbers.
I have 2 alarms. That's why I wake up at 4:45. I go to the gym, and at 6:45 I have to be out the gym. So sometimes I'm like in my own world, like you know, gains.
Right.
And then I'm like,
Hashtag
shit. It's 6:45 and the gym is 5 minutes.
¿Para qué?
Yeah.
Cerquititas.
So that's why it's like, I know that I'll make it. If I leave the gym at 6:45, I'll make it on time.
And you've mentioned that once you get to the gym, the hard part is waking up, right?
Yeah,
Once you get to the gym, you're in your mode, like
Yeah.
suicide.
I don't want to leave.
You don't want to leave, right? That's the legit the thing. Like the hardest part is waking up and getting to the gym. Ya que estás ahí, estás en ambiente, you're listening to, I don't know, Chingonas talk about it.
Yeah.
Sisma. What else do you listen to?
I listen to the podcast.
Do you have a workout playlist?
No, I actually do, but it's just like, it's music that I would normally not listen to.
Remember, I always ask you for your playlist, and you're
Yeah.
like, it just randomly shuffles.
It does. It randomly does shuffle
Daily
because
mix and
of
shit?
what I've listened to. But my gym playlist, if it's not like a new episode, like this week I listened to Con Puros Compas.
Yeah.
Their new episode with Edvi. Edvi? Is that how you say his name?
Lechuga.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how you say his name, but
Edvi?
yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Funny as hell. Like he reminds me of us, like always cursing every 2.3 seconds. By the way,
Yes.
my nephew
Yes.
told me that he can no longer watch our videos.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
What happened?
We curse too much.
He said that?
Yeah.
Damn, Liam called us out?
No, not Liam.
Who?
No,
Andrew?
Jaden
Jaden.
from Michelle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Remember, it was so cute. Remember, we pulled up to the ranch.
Us and he had it on his mom's phone.
Yeah, we pulled up to my parents' ranch, and he
Not
was
me naming
there.
all my nephews.
Yeah, for real. He was there, and he's like, I watched you guys, and he pulled us up,
Yeah.
right? And then, pero ya no.
Que te mandó mensaje.
No, en el party de Michelle.
Oh, te dijo.
Me dijo.
Oh.
Me dijo que yeah. He's like, remember I watched you guys? And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much. He's like, I'm not watching you guys anymore.
Damn.
And I'm like, why? What happened?
Lost someone.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, you guys curse too much.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true though.
That's true though.
Shout out to Jaden.
Jaden, you did the right thing, homie.
Josiah.
Valemos madre.
So I apologize to him. I told him to put us on his TVs in every room in his house, but put us on mute.
You know what I
Pero
do?
como que no le gustó la idea.
You know, sometimes I do at work, cause I can't really watch us, or I can hear us, but like I like to watch us because I'm so dumb. I love watching myself. I love myself so much. I put the caption on, and then even in English, you can't understand what the fuck I'm saying. It's like blah, 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 gibberish and shit, and it's just like yes, but no, yeah. Shout out to Jaden because honestly, every time I edit the video and it says for kids, it's not for kids.
Yeah.
Es familiar el canal, though.
Yeah, it is familiar.
Lo escucha la familia y lo ve.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Guys, this week was definitely short. Work went by really fast. There was like a bunch of bullshit. At work, I feel like los plebadas se estrenan. Se amontonó los viernes, güey, esa loca.
They tag team on you?
Yeah, but my kids know better. Like, I got a lot of like cool feedback. They said I look really young. That a lot of my freshmen don't know that I'm a teacher. That I'm not 15 years old. I'm a whole 28-year-old woman. So I like the fact that these kids are like, you don't look like a teacher, or like you don't look old. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't look like I'm supposed to look.
Well, they always tell me that I don't look like I have a 14-year-old.
You don't. You fucking look like you don't have a fucking 14-year-old. Julie does like your sister.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. ¿Qué te tomas?
Stop commenting stupid shit on my fucking pictures, bro. I'm gonna call you out.
That shit was hilarious. I waited for that moment.
Guys, if you guys know, my sister comments on my pictures and she fucking be leaving me like a whole lyrics and songs and all this bullshit.
It was actually from a TikTok.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I was supposed to send it individually, but I didn't have time, bro.
Bro, you have a fucking lot of time. Because I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, maybe it's a song.
Yeah, no, it was a TikTok.
And then you sent me a TikTok, and I'm like, oh, okay. That
and
makes sense.
Julie knew I was gonna do it, and when she saw that I did it, she's like, "You did it." Like, I will.
You did it. All right. Oh my God. Can we just talk about if you guys know Blue's Clues, if you guys watched it when you were like fucking morrillos, Steve came back.
Yeah. I told my kids.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
What'd they say?
Because it was a thing that I had with them that every time that we would go check the mail,
Yeah.
I would like legit sing, "We just got a letter. We just got a letter." Yeah, but even if it was from Comet, I still sang that.
Definitely. That's a shit, bro.
So I told the kids, and like they looked at me like, okay, like what's the news?
Yeah.
I swear. But it's okay because it's like Steve was talking to people born before 1997.
I saw that. So if you were born after 1997,
Disregard
I'm so
the
sorry.
message.
That message was not for you.
No, disregard.
There's another message coming for you. I don't know when.
Yeah.
Bro, I saw that and I was at work and I was like, what the fuck? Like, Steve, like, he is talking to me. Like, I swear to God, I was like.
Okay, did you cry though?
I swear to God, I did.
Yeah, yo también. Like,
I was at work.
I mean, it's expected for me to cry all the time, but did you like reevaluate your life and you're like, look at everything you have done, and then like you get like, did a movie play in your head and be like, ¿qué he hecho? Desde que dejé verte a ti, ¿qué he hecho? Did you do that?
I did do that, and then I had a 16-year-old screaming at me, telling me what the fuck, because I had to take him to the dean's office. Yes, no, I did. It was like sad, but you know what it was too? It was a closure.
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
I didn't see it as a closure. I think because it's like I stopped watching TV.
That's true.
So I think
Did you ever realize when he left?
No, I started like realizing after like a while. I'm like, ¿y este güey quién es? Like,
¿Qué le pasaría a Steve, güey?
Yeah.
¿Estará bien?
Yeah, exactly. But it was just like it didn't ring a bell right away.
Yeah. I mean, he said that he went off to college, and I looked up his age. I always look up people's ages. Is that weird?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
So he's a whole 47-year-old man. 47-year-old man.
¿Qué crees que fue a hacer?
¿Cuál es su vida, güey? No mames.
Oh, okay.
Fue a
No,
college.
but I mean,
he said he went to college.
Yeah, he went to college. I saw
Grew
that.
out of it. Like, there's a certain point when you can't be in like Disney Channel or like Nickelodeon. Like, you reach your fucking limit. Yeah, like on to the next chapter in your life.
Yeah.
You know?
I admire him maintaining the same weight though.
He did maintain the same way, huh?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Me, my fitness journey and shit, en lo que me fijo.
Steve, we gotta talk, but thank you so much for the message, because honestly, like, it touched a lot of people, because the whole week I kept seeing memes and then just posts about him. Some funny, some not. Like, Steve told me I'm doing good, so y'all, all of y'all, if y'all don't like me, I was like, like the song.
Oh, sí.
Right. No, but that was low-key, that was badass. That was badass that Steve did that shit. Shout out to Steve. Steve,
Respect.
Mm-hmm. We needed that shit. We needed to fucking humble some people down.
True.
But yes, and birthday shout-outs.
Of course.
Guys.
I just found this out, by the way.
Guys, when I say comment your birthdays, please comment your birthdays. Like, we really want to give you guys a shout-out. So, vamos a regañar a Raul Perez porque...
Bardo.
Yes, because it was your birthday, homie. You didn't say shit until you posted something. Like, how you gonna post something?
Yeah.
Like,
What's the issue? Like, is this personal?
Like that we were friends.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday, bro. Like,
Hizo fiesta y no nos invitó. Is that the thing?
Júramelo.
Is that the thing? Por eso no nos quería decir?
No, I think he went out.
Because
I'm
I'm a big girl, but I don't really eat in fiesta, so you don't have to worry about my plate.
I'm dead. No, but I don't think, no. I think his birthday passed, but he shouldn't say anything. Some people's birthdays pass and you don't even know what the fuck.
No,
No te avisa Facebook, no te avisan ni madres.
Can I please tell them
What?
that you delete people when it announces you that it's their birthday and you don't fuck with them anymore?
Okay.
Do you still do that?
I know, but...
Oh, okay. I remember one time she told me, she's like, I deleted so-and-so. And I'm like, ¿cómo te acordaste de esa persona? And she's like, oh, it was that person's birthday. And I'm like, you deleted them on their birthday?
I have deleted people on their birthday because, one, I don't want to wish you a happy birthday. And two, I don't want to wish you a happy birthday because I don't fuck with you. So, happy birthday.
So that's how you remember them? Like, you're like, it's like, oh,
That's how
today
fucked up, right?
is
That's fucked up.
this and this person's
I
birthday.
haven't done it in a while, but I might just start. Just kidding. Guys, shout out to everybody who is, I have to just say it, participating to win the raffle for my pickup truck. I am wrapping up my pickup truck. I am moving on to other things in life. I'm doing a fair raffle, so if you guys do participate, thank you so much. There are still a lot of numbers available in spaces or whatever the fuck you want to call it. A lot of people are adding me on Facebook. I don't know you guys, but I hope that you guys are entering the raffle. And if you guys are being creeps, you will be deleted. I'm sorry.
On your birthday.
On your fucking birthday. Before your birthday. So, shout out to everybody. Gracias a todos los que están participando. I swear to God, this raffle is fair. Fair and square. I just don't need my pickup truck. I want to raffle it to someone who actually can rock this pickup truck.
Or can sell it and get the money. That's what I'm in for. I bought you a number because
my sister bought a number. She want to flip it. Yeah. So whatever you guys want to do, the raffle's still open. I'm not gonna close it until all the numbers are sold. There's still more spaces to be sold. So please message me. And if you're gonna be a creep on Facebook, I will delete you. Serious inquiries only.
Hola.
Guess que. No, I have to say it, bro, because some people be like, "¿Cómo está chiquitita?" And I'm like, raffle.
Yeah. Extreme. Business only.
I will be a bitch.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I'm dead, but I have to say it though. I'm telling you, bro. Like a lot of people are adding me, and it's crazy because
te creo.
It's crazy because maybe they feel like, oh, is it a guy selling, raffling the
pickup?
No, it's a whole ass bitch. Bad bitch. So yes. So I know we asked La Plebada if we wanted to keep the weekly recap. The Plebada say yes.
Yes.
And when I mean the Plebada, I mean our girl Gisela and our girl Letty, who comments.
No, there was another person.
Who?
I don't know.
Let's go back.
There was another person.
Who was it? Who comment?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Hermana.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I saw that our girl Letty comments, and I know Gisela comments. But I don't know who else comments. There was 3 comments?
Yeah, there was 3 comments.
Oh, our girl, Nancy Morales.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so happy that one podcast I watched on YouTube from you was with a dog. I listen to y'all every Monday on Spotify. Keep going and producing these podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy Morales.
Nancy Morales.
If you hear this or watch this, comment again. Because we want to see who you are. And your, like your page on Instagram. Because on YouTube, pues no. Es que no. Thank you. So this week's topic is very serious.
Very, very serious.
Very serious. And I did make a post on Facebook. So shout out to whoever reached out. I'm telling you guys, when I do make posts on Chingonas, I really want you guys to reach out. Don't be shy. And if you don't want to be exposed, respectfully, we won't expose you. We just want to share people's stories, perspectives, ideas, concerns, comments. So thank you guys for replying, the ones who did. And we will have a special caller today on today's episode. But we're just going to do a little background before we jump into all that.
Okay.
Why, hermana? Right?
Right.
Damn, why you been
No, I thought you were going to read it
Cynthia I did my homework at work.
Well, we both kind of.
Yeah. And Cynthia did her little research too.
Yeah.
This is a very important matter, and I just wanted to give numbers. I feel like numbers don't lie. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Damn, bitch. So I did go ahead, and first let's just talk about the topic. I feel like lately that topic has kind of been around us without wanting to be around us.
Yes. So I mean, do you want to say the topic?
Go ahead.
We are going to be talking about suicide on today's episode. This was Suicide Prevention Week.
Yes, and it's going to end tomorrow, September 11th.
Okay. And unfortunately, during this week,
yes,
there was a loss in our family, not our family, immediate family. It was my aunt's nephew.
Yes.
And it was such an eye opener because it was like it's hitting home every time. Is that how you say it? Like it's hitting home closer?
Closer, yeah.
So it's getting closer to our family.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. I brought it up to you.
Yes.
Not to expose anybody's business. It's just I feel like there's not much information out there. And I know that that I wanted to make sure that, if there's somebody struggling out there, they understand that they're not alone. There's ways of people helping you, or, just feeling confident to reach out to somebody.
Yes.
I started with talking to my kids. I told you about that.
Yes. How was that? Cynthia did tell me that she talked to my nieces and nephew about suicide. I mean, my nieces and nephew are, 13, 11, and 6 years old. How did they take it?
Well, the first thing that happened is that me and Louis were talking about the subject.
Okay.
And Ariana heard that. Ariana is 6 years old.
She's so smart.
And she said that the person's not going to go with Diosito.
Okay.
Because they did that. And then it went, for me, it felt more than religion. It felt more of me talking to my kids and wondering if they've ever felt that need, because I'm very, very open with Julissa. You know this.
Yes.
Giovanni.
You're very open with your kids. But Julissa, because she's the oldest, right?
Yeah. Giovanni, I'm 100% sure that is very open with his dad.
Yes.
So they have an amazing relationship. So I'm comfortable because they both have somebody to reach out to. But I wanted to explain to them, and I wanted to hear it from their mouth that they've never felt the need, or they've never felt, in that place. I just felt like I needed to hear it. I think the mom in me.
To confirm.
Yeah, the mom in me wanted to be like, okay, then everything is how it appears at home. So when there's bullying at school, we talk about that. Like, I'm very upfront with my kids. I don't sugarcoat anything. When Julissa likes a boy, she'll talk to me. When the boy doesn't want to talk to Julissa anymore, she talks to me. And it's just, I want to make sure that there's no scenario that would ever push them to that. Of course, there's nothing that could prevent it. But I just think that the more you talk about it, the more that it becomes like an open subject, because it's like a taboo when it's like you're too young to have a boyfriend, and you can't talk to your mom about it because you're too young to have a boyfriend. Right. So if my kids were ever to feel desperate or wanting to do something, I don't want them to feel like, oh, I can't go to my mom.
Exactly. So
me and my husband talked to them, and we explained to them why people would do it, or different ways of doing it too. Because there's the unintentional suicide. I was reading about that earlier, that it's just some kids. And the sad thing is that it happens mostly with kids between the ages of 15 to 19, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And the thing is, sometimes they lack attention, and they want to cause attention, but unfortunately they take it too far. So they don't mean to do it, but when they're in the situation, they've already gone too far.
Yes. And that brings me to what I was researching at work about, just numbers wise. So suicide is the 10th reason people die in the U.S. So this research is just based on the United States of America. The United States of America. In 2019, 47,511 Americans died because of suicide. And in 2019, there was an estimated 1.38 million suicide attempts.
Wow.
And the most population of genders, if you identify as this gender, are the males who are committing suicide.
Okay.
Yeah. And on an average, there are 130 suicides per day.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? I was reading this shit. I was like, what the fuck? This was in 2019. Obviously, we're in 2021. But I went to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, because this whole month, this week is, dedicated to that prevention. But this whole month, I feel like, is just awareness for suicide. So that was one website. And then I'm going to link these links down below in the description, so you guys can check them out as well. I also put a hotline number on Chingonas when I make the post. It's actually a real number, and it's a real page. If you guys ever feel the need to talk to someone that you don't necessarily want it to be family or someone that is a hotline, and you can always reach out to them. I also will put the suicide prevention line, Lifeline .org. So this month is Promote National Suicide Prevention Month. So this is why we're doing this episode. The person that's going to be on the call, we don't know. And we won't mention her real name.
Okay.
Well, actually, we're going to ask. But I personally don't want to expose her real name. I just want her to share her story, because she was brave enough to reach out to us. And out of respect, I want just her story to be heard. But I don't want names out there.
Yeah.
A friend of a friend, I guess was like, hey, you know, like Chingonas are doing this. If you want to talk about it.
So thank you very much for reaching out to us.
Thank you. So that's that. So this page, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, is actually really cool because it talks about how you can ask someone. It takes you to different links. How you can ask someone when somebody you know is in emotional pain. You can ask them directly, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" And there are just steps. Of course, if that person confides in you and you feel like you need to ask that question, and then there's steps to how to go from there. More severe than others. So I want to go ahead and ask this person if she's ready to be on the call. Because I really want to hear her story. Meanwhile, while this person is trying to connect, have you ever met someone? I don't know if I ever asked you that, or thinking out of my head right now, someone that killed themselves. Or
I have never met anybody that have successfully committed suicide. I don't know if that's the way you say it.
I'm sorry, go say it again.
Successfully committed suicide?
Yeah, I want to say that's
Is okay. So I have never met anybody that has committed suicide, but I know somebody that has attempted to commit suicide. You know this person very well.
Yeah.
And it was just it was so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't understand. Like, you know, I've been through a very dark stage in my life, but I've never reached that point. You know, thank God, I've never reached that point. But it's just it must be really dark.
I've also known a person that some people that attempted or thought about it. I don't know, you know, like you said, at that dark moment in life, that must be some other shit that God, I don't want everyone to feel. Obviously they weren't successful, but I don't know. That must have been hard.
Yeah.
So we are ready to connect this person on Chingonas. Once again, we've never met this person. Very brave to be on Chingonas, and especially this serious matter. So let's meet this brave person. I'm excited. I'm excited because people are reaching out and they're ready to talk about this.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? This is Diana.
Hi. Hi, Diana.
Hi,
Cyntia.
and I'm Cynthia.
Where you are connected
Cynthia.
on Chingonas Talk About It. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
First off, I did say previous before calling you that we're not going to expose your name unless you want to expose your name.
No, yeah, that's okay. We could do whichever. I mean, yeah, we don't have to say names.
Okay. No names. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. We did a little background on just like we just talk about numbers and just how suicide has played out in the U.S. But I know you don't know us, so thank you so much for being brave enough to be on the call, especially for tonight's episode. So please, if you want to just give us a background and then go ahead and tell your story.
Yeah, like a little background on myself.
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to go a little background, I know for me, I come from my own history. So growing up, you know, I had a lot of suicidal ideation, self-harming behavior, mostly started in middle school. And just so you know, I'm straight up 100% Mexican. I come from a traditional old school Mexican household. You know, mom and dad didn't really believe in like therapy, and they would a lot of the times, you know, the usual of like, que soy loca. They would tell me, you know, she's just crazy. It wasn't something we really talked about in my family. And so I kind of dealt with it on my own, and, you know, with a lot of the issues I had, it was really hard. So one of the things I did was really self-harming behavior. I'd have a lot of like suicidal ideations. And I fought through it. I literally, all my years in middle school, high school, college, even towards my undergrad year, until I really started to seek like my own therapy and counseling. And interestingly enough, I studied psychology. I got my bachelor's in psychology and criminal justice. And I really, at that time, I wanted to kind of like prove my parents wrong and to help myself. I wanted to show my parents like, hey, mental health is real. It's just like any kind of, right, medical problem. So if you go to get diabetes, right, if you have cancer, you're going to treat that. So, you know, from there, I decided, yeah, this is the route I want to take. I want to help others. I really want to, I survived it. So why not try to help others with my story and what kind of helped me? And then I got my master's as well, and I did child adolescent psychology. And from there, I really took a career in counseling, from doing school counseling to doing a domestic violence therapy for 2.5 years, to where I am now, which I finally, like, I always say I made it to, like, now I think my final job, where I work at a Chicago public school from a nonprofit agency, and now I get to help others and really, you know, K through 8, mostly in middle school. And I do see a lot of what I went through, so I get to really show that, right? I get to see that with my kids. So that's like a little bit of like that background of how I came to be, really.
That's amazing. Did now you studying that and actually making that your career, did that change your parents' mindset?
Yeah, you know, it did. Not, I won't say like, you know, you're always gonna have it, and and I know you all know this too, right? Having like those traditional, like the old school style,
Yes.
Latino parents and family, like they're always gonna have certain views that you won't always be able to change, but you will start opening some different horizons, right? So like now my parents, I've heard them tell others like, oh, you know, we're so proud of my daughter. Like, mi hija ayuda a otros niños. Like, she does all these things. She's so helpful to other people. Like, I start hearing that, and they believe that. Like, I'll be honest, I just recently started going back to therapy, because I always say every therapist needs a therapist. Every priest needs a priest. And, you know, I deal with my own anxiety disorder. I do have diagnosed anxiety disorder and depression disorder, and it's not something it ever goes away. You know, you learn how to cope with that. And, you know, this time around, they're not telling me I'm crazy, right? They're supportive of it. They support it and accept it. So I will say, I don't think it's ever going to completely change their minds, but I think that they're now more open to the fact that it's a real disorder. And I also notice the way they'll talk about it when they find out someone else has like depression. They're like, oh no, my goodness, they can't get out of bed. I heard, you know, and they'll talk about it, and they're like really worried about it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, they're taking it more seriously this time around.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Now that you are basically on the back end, thank you so much for your background. Now we know that, you know, what you went through and what you basically went to college to, I guess I want to say, fight your own battles, right? Because you are dealing with this, but now you are also helping other kids. Correct?
Yeah.
So how's
I think
that?
that's a big reason.
How's
Yeah,
that?
it's a hard, because, you know, my therapist had told me this just this past week, and she said, and it really stuck with me because it's so true. She's like, you know, really the people that go into this field, right, of counseling, of like social work, you know, we come from our own battles and history. We really do it. A lot of times we do it because we want to try to really figure ourselves out, and there's no answer for that. It's always going to be a battle. It's always going to be something that you have to really cope with and learn, you know, learn to accept yourself. You've got to learn the good and the not so good. So it's not always easy. You know, like I did just mention, I recently went back to therapy, and I had to discover that in order to really continue to be that best version for my students, I have to also practice what I'm preaching, right? Like I can't just tell them, like, yeah, you know, that you've got to learn with how to do coping mechanism, breathing exercises, journaling, you know, self-care, if I'm not doing it myself, and if I can't also admit when I need that help. So I'm very open about it now that I do this work, especially with like my more like my 7th and 8th graders. You know, I let them know, like, hey, I've had my own battles in history, and guess what? I'm still going through it. I'm a full-grown adult. And, you know, and I'm also myself going and receiving support and help. And it's okay. It doesn't make you weak. You know, it makes you strong to ask for help. So, yeah, I think it's always going to be that battle. It always is going to be there. But that's what I love about working in this field, that you break that stigma, right? You stomp on it because you're like, hey, it's okay to talk about it. So, yeah, I love that I get to do this work now.
I don't know how comfortable you are speaking about it, but if you don't want to talk about it, that's perfect. But do you want to talk about when you had suicidal thoughts? What triggered them? What made you go into that dark stage? I was telling my sister Diana that unfortunately I've been through so much in my life, in my personal life, but I have never experienced depression. I've never experienced suicidal thoughts or anything like that. So I wouldn't be able to understand, or I want to just get a feel of what pushes you to the limit to feel that there's no other way out but suicide. If you feel comfortable, if you don't, we could just go ahead and ask something else.
Oh, absolutely. I think in order to really break the stigma and bring awareness to it is to talk about it, right? I think one of the things is the out of control feeling. So when, I will actually give an example. I was just suicidal, about 2 weeks ago, really. And it's a moment where the thoughts arrive when things that I cannot control. And that actually goes really along with my anxiety disorder. If I can't control things in life that come at me, whether it be that I've got car problems, whether it be that there's debt, or just things that just happen, it becomes this overwhelming, consuming feeling of, you know what? I would rather just not even be here to deal with it. And it comes really quickly. It's almost that quick feeling, right? And I always say there's a difference between having suicidal thoughts and actually being suicidal to the point where you have a plan. And so for me, in my years, there's always been a difference. When I was younger, I would say I was very much suicidal with a plan and an actual attempt at one point. Whereas now as an adult, when having anxiety disorder and depression, it's almost that quick reaction I can have at times of, you know what, this is consuming me so much that I just don't even want to deal with it anymore. And actually, I would say that I have students sometimes that, have those reactions. They'll be suicidal. I sometimes have to assess them. And I always ask them, do you really have a plan to do it? And they're like, no. And when I ask, like, what led you to have these thoughts, it's always that same feeling. It's just that things are so overwhelming that your only thought is like, I would rather not be here to deal with it, right? It's like, and a lot of that comes just like almost like a secondhand nature, especially when you already deal with a lot of trauma or anxiety or depression.
Wow.
How old were you when you first had your suicidal thought or attempt?
I would say, well, my self-harming began in 7th grade. And I wouldn't say that I was necessarily suicidal at that time. There's always a difference. I always tell people that too, not to be afraid of when someone is self-harming. We are quick to think that they want to take their life, but it actually is just a negative way to cope. So for me, the self-harming, I wasn't really, I would say, suicidal until maybe my sophomore year of high school. I think that's when things really took a turn for me. And I even remember having to go to outpatient therapy, like the counselors got involved. My parents had to get brought to the school because it started to unleash at school. And I wasn't showing it necessarily at home because I would hide it fairly well. Because again, I didn't have accepting parents of it. But at school, that's where I would open up to my best friend or teachers. I really confided in teachers. And I mean, again, that's what really led me to do this role is I also had such a great high school counselor and such great high school teachers that I felt so comfortable to tell them, how caught up I was in my emotions. And of course, knowing, now I know the role, right? Mandated reporters and things like that, they'd have to break confidentiality and let someone know. But it was really the mid-year of high school when that started.
But did anybody trigger it? We did an episode with our uncle, and it was about coming out gay, and our very, very close friend was in that episode too, and they both had the exact same story where it's they told their parents, and after that all the suicide thoughts came to them. I've heard too that it's just if you break up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend and you're in that stage, your teenage years, that's another reason why a lot of young teens attempt suicide. Do you want to talk about what triggered yours, or you do not?
Yeah. No, I would say it's a variety of things. For me, a lot of it was just growing up with the parents I had. I didn't get a lot of, my parents both worked. I wasn't really close with my brothers per se. I didn't have a lot of friendships. I really just had my one best friend. And a lot of it just came from kind of that feeling I didn't have, a detachment from my mom. My mom was, really hard to get along with. She also had her own trauma growing up, and she was orphaned, and both my parents never even went to school. Like later now in my 20s, my mom and I had a really good conversation, and my mom told me, she apologized actually to me, and it was such a great conversation because she's like, I honestly didn't know, right? She's like, I didn't know any better, and I didn't know the things I say or do, so there was a lot of abuse, whether it was verbally, emotionally, and physical. I would say the emotional abuse I got from my mom was probably the worst of it. That was a big of a trigger of mine. And I think a lot of it too is that adolescent feeling, like you said, right? It's during those adolescent stages. I always felt different in high school. I also didn't really feel like I fit in. I never really felt like I fit in with anybody. I was really a lot of a loner. I kept to myself. I was something you would call like an internalizer, where, the student that has good grades, right, never gets in trouble, but there's always something there. And those are always the kids to look out for. If that's something I really would love to get out today, is that always look out for that. When you hear that student is such a great student, she's always getting great grades, like keep an eye on that too. If you also notice that they don't sign up to any groups or clubs and you don't really see them socializing, that was me. I wasn't really involved in a lot. I kept to myself. But I would say the biggest triggers were probably a lot of that. And a big thing, and actually this is something I had talked to my therapist for a while, is I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood. And I later found out that, it's probably because something did happen to me that I'm not sure of, that I just kind of hid. And that is something that we hear a lot about when there's a lot of trauma, a really big traumatic event. So there's a lot of uncovered things that I have from my childhood. But yeah, I would definitely say it's a mix of things, from like emotional abuse to just the adolescent feeling, of not really feeling like I fit in.
Okay. And do you see, now that, you deal with a lot more cases, do you see a pattern in that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I see a lot of commonalities. A lot of it, especially, I do see a lot of students that, especially, like LGBTQ, it is very difficult and hard. You do see a higher percentage of kids who are LGBTQ community that usually you will see a higher rate of like depression or anxiety or suicidal ideations. But I also see a lot of it from having parents that just aren't always so present, or siblings that are there for you as well. I see that so much. And I have so many cases that I'm like, wow, I understand you completely. And I'll tell the kids that I was there. I know how you're feeling. And I've been through it. And it's not something that ever goes away either, because you can't change other people, right? You can't, that's the power you've got to learn. You can't change those people. You can only change yourself.
Yes. So before we called you, I was talking to my sister, and I was telling her that I have 3 kids myself. And we spoke to them, me and my husband, because it was just like my aunt's nephew committed suicide just this week too. And it's just
sorry to hear that.
The thing that would like really got to us, it was just like he didn't, quote unquote, seem like a person that would do it. And it's just, you never know. And throughout my years, like we found out people that have attempted to commit suicide, and it's just, that's always the one thing that goes to my head. Like, oh, they seemed so, like, again,
happy,
yeah,
or I want to say normal.
Yeah,
you know like just,
that's something that comes to my head too, using the word normal, because it's like, what is normal?
Yeah.
Like you said, getting good
Right.
grades. That one's sticking to me, because it's like, you expect the person that's getting good grades to be involved, to be actually focusing and having a goal in life, as opposed to the total opposite, that, they're going through something very hard in their lives. So I was talking to my kids, and I wanted to hear it like firsthand. I think it was the mom in me that wanted them to tell me, like, I've never thought about it, or I have thought about it. I just wanted to hear it, like, confirmation, basically, like what has gone through you guys' head. My daughter is gonna be 14 years old. My son is gonna be 11 years old. So it's just my little one, she's 6 years old. I don't think she knows. I mean, she understands what suicide is because she had her own say in it, but I just feel like she doesn't know the extent of it. So I think at like 5th, 4th grade is when the bullying at school starts. It could be something severe. It could be something very, very, just normal, if you want to call it that. So when I was talking to my kids, it kept on going through my head that like I'm so open with them. I'm so quote unquote involved because I'm pretty sure like my daughter, likes this boy and she's not going to run up to me. Well, she has, but I don't feel like I'm the first person that she's going to run up to and be like, hey, mom, I like this boy. Right. But it's so uncomfortable to me to know that these kids being so young are going through this. I don't know why I put my head around it and I'm like, okay, well, when you're an adult, you have so much in your back. You have so much to worry about, like myself, if, my kids are okay, if the bills are getting paid, like you said, debt, all that. But when I was reading that kids from the age of 15 to 19 are most likely to commit suicide, it was so bothering to me. It was just, I didn't understand, them being so young, having so much life ahead of them, that those are your best years. You don't have to worry about, I don't remember I had to pay my cell phone when I was that young. So it's just that. It's just how dark of a stage do you get into to think that way? And me being a mom, that really, it just stuck to me. And I'm so thankful that you're on the call because I think you could, help a lot of people by your knowledge and what you've dealt with.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people get really shocked about that statistic. And me being on that end where I was an adolescent who was deep in like self-harm, depression, and suicidal thoughts, I can tell you that, kids at that age, adolescents, they do go through a lot because their brain is differently developed at that age. It's in the impulse. So if something, if you didn't know this, but the brain at the adolescent age is always in an impulsive state. That is why adolescents are very quick to do things such as like try drugs, right? Early sex, sometimes stealing, sneaking out, right? There's all of these things, right? At that age, you do the rebel thing. And it's very normal actually because of that stage in their brain that's full of like just impulsivity. And so I would say that it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't surprise me that age is a big highest of statistics of the rate of suicide because kids are just quick to be in their emotions. You cannot see otherwise, right? And as an adult, we're also really quick to say like, well, what do you have to worry about, right?
Yeah.
You just go to school. That's something I hear so much from my parents of my kids. When I do tell them, like, your daughter, is really depressed or is having anxiety, it's like, well, from what? Not like she pays bills, not like, she's got to worry about these things. And that is true, but you're also not putting yourself in that brain as well, knowing that development at what stage it is. And so as an adult, we already are developed to have a different mindset. So that stage of a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, they're in a heightened stage all the time of like fight or flee, right? It's like always like I'm either going to fight something or I'm just going to keep running away from it. And so it isn't that uncommon. And the way to really get through it is to understand that stage. So not to try to abuse the child, not to try to punish in a certain way. Yes, there's always going to be consequences for things, but talk about it. Like really talk about those feelings. So I love when you said that, like, you know what, I sat down and I had a talk with my children. Like I really wanted to know, like, have you ever had these thoughts? Those are the ways to really know that an adolescent can talk to their parents, that they're going to be there and they're not afraid to tell them something. Yeah, they're not always going to be so open with you, right? They're going to keep their things because at the end of the day, they're still teens. But if they know that, hey, it's okay if I let my parent know that, you know what, I did smoke weed today. You know what, I did try it. And this is, well, then let's talk about it. Let's try to prevent that. Let's not do it again. And that's what I always tell my kids. I don't let my students, I don't ever yell at them or anything. I let them know, you come to me and tell me if you did try drugs, if you did have sex, all of that, because you know what, let's talk about it. what was going on that, you know, you made that decision. The thing with the teen is because of that impulsivity that they have, it's important to have conversations with them, to try to get them to reason, to try to get them to understand consequences, because trust me, they're not going to get it at this stage. And so it is very quick for them to go to that extreme of suicide, you know, because again, suicide is an extreme and it's an extreme end and it's a big impulsive move. And so that is the same for an adolescent. So those are really important things to think about.
Yeah.
Another just thought that came to my head while I'm hearing you. When your kids come to you, what is like the majority of like the issue that is making them want to attempt suicide? Is it mostly bullying just because of, you know, the age, or there's something else?
You know, a lot of the times it is bullying. You hear that very often. I would say when it is bullying, but already there's things at home that are happening. If there's a lot of fighting at home, you know, if there's domestic violence, if maybe it's a single parent household, if there's alcohol or drug abuse, if, you know, there's gang affiliations, things like that. If there is already trauma in the home and now you're also getting bullied or you're having a hard time keeping up with things at school, like those things together are huge triggers. I would say that those are a lot of it. And then again, we do also know that a lot of LGBTQ youth are a higher risk as well. But I would say high risks are really students and children that are coming from already traumatic backgrounds and not receiving help. And this is why it's so important to get that counseling in schools, to get mental health conversations in schools, because there isn't, right? If you don't feel that you are safe enough, like you're not feeling safe to talk to someone, or if there aren't those resources available to you, you're at a higher risk then to be able to maybe actually go through with a plan that you might be having to take your own life.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's unfortunate that in our Hispanic community, it's so overpassed, it's so ignored. It's like you said, it's like, oh, estás loca, or no sabes lo que estás haciendo, o no tienes problemas de verdad, and it's so sad. I try my best. It doesn't matter how big or how small the problem is. If my kids are arguing about the remote, and then one just goes and locks himself in his room, I go and I'll talk to whoever it is. It's usually my boy. So I'll go and I'll talk to him and I'm like, okay, but why did you react over that? Why did you act the way like you did over a remote control? Why were you annoyed? What was your why was your emotions to that point? Why did you react like that? So it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. I won't scream. Like I usually when I have, you know, my patience very, very low, maybe I'll just scream and be like, just go to your room. But most of the times I want to know what triggered your emotions. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is, because I came from a family where it's just like, just the screaming came first. And it's just, even if I wanted to explain myself, I would just shut down, because it's like, no, they're already screaming at me. They're already mad at me. Why would I even tell them what I feel? And I think that's something that I've been trying so hard to first understand them. I want to understand them. I want to know what they're feeling, what made them get that angry. If to me it was something very minimal. Why did they get so mad over that little thing that I didn't see that, you know, was so necessary? So I really do think that it starts at home. It starts with us being more involved with our kids. And even then, I know that there's those parents that are like on top of their kids' school, on top of their kids', you know, personal lives. And even then, you know, we might miss that little red flag.
In the attempts that you made of suicide, did your parents ever like catch you in the act or like question you during those times, or it was always like you just changed your mind? Or can you, if you want, talk about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know, so I did it in secrecy. I actually, it was a bad fight I had, and I remember that clearly. Like, you know, and my mom had made like a statement that she wished like I was never born. And you know, I went upstairs and I got on a chair, and we have like the light switch, and I grabbed like it and started wrapping it around my neck. And I got on that chair to try to hang myself, and then I was just crying and sobbing. And in that moment, it instead, like, here's the thing, because it was always, like I said, it was the self-harming. And when you self-harm, it's never an attempt to take your life. In that moment, though, because of all those emotions, I felt that, but I actually got off of the chair and instead cut myself for quite a lot that night. And it wasn't something, again, that my parents never knew about. They still don't to this day, but I think they had suspicions of my self-harming. It was hard after a while to try to hide them. They never asked me though about it. Now I have scars on my arm, on my shoulders, and sometimes my mom will ask, like, what is that? And I'll just say, like, oh, that's from a long time ago, and I don't talk about it because, again, those aren't things that we grew up talking about. But yeah, no, they knew I was how I was. I had therapy. My dad was the one that would take me to it because my mom wasn't really a believer in it. She always said, oh, they're just going to blame everything on me. You're going there, and all you probably talk about is me. So no, they never knew about those things, and it wasn't something they ever talked to me about either, though.
Thank you for sharing that. Any alerts before we just cut off that you want to just, now that you've noticed and yourself know, just to look out for anyone that could be, like, kids or adults, just so everyone knows, kind of like
The red flags.
Yeah, I'd say they'll definitely look out, again, for the students that sometimes do keep to themselves. The ones that are quieter, that might be more disengaged from things. Because the thing with it is if you have support systems, you're more likely to really feel like, hey, even if I had a bad day today, I can overcome this. I've got somebody, right, that I gravitate towards, that I love and I care about, that I really could go to. And so you want to look for the students that don't have that. And you want to, for sure, start to try to get them connected as much as you can. I know for me, I get a lot of students referred that are a lot more internalizers. And we want to try to get them connected with someone, right? And sometimes I do. I end up referring them to therapy and counseling outside. And so I'd say that's a big red flag. You also definitely always want to make sure that, like any LGBTQ youth, they are able to have resources and support. Any students that already sometimes identify as feeling nervous, especially if you notice that they're getting anxiety attacks in class, or they feel like, sometimes they might panic or they don't want to really socialize. Those are really the red flags to really look out for. But you also want to look out for kids and even as adults, for people sometimes that look like they're really trying to hide it all, I mean, if you take a look at it, there are a lot of suicides with comedians, right? And people always wonder, but why? Like, somebody that's a comedian committed suicide? Well, because of the fact is that you're also masking something, right? So you want to look at kids that you also notice, like, hey, it seems like they're masking something, like they're using this to hide something.
Yeah.
So sometimes you want to also keep that on the lookout. Don't always just think and assume that just because someone is crying all the time or things like that, that they're suicidal. Because guess what? Crying is a really normal reaction and an emotion, right? So we're quick to think, like, let's look for the kid that looks depressed.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not always the case. So I would say be aware of that. Don't always assume that if somebody is, showing like just signs of depression, that means they're suicidal. It's not always that.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am literally like, I'm so happy that you are on this call. I've been literally like just like listening and picturing everything you're telling us. Like, honestly, like, I think this is our best episode so far. And thank you so much for participating and sharing, your personal experiences. And I mean, every time someone's on here, I asked, do you want to give a shout out to anybody? I know you're anonymous, but still.
Yeah, you know what? I want to give a shout out, honestly, to all those dedicated school workers, especially right now. And, I work for Chicago Public School. In a Chicago Public School, I work for an outside agency that puts me in a Chicago Public School. But I got to give a shout out to all of them, like from the teachers to the school staff right now, to the counselors, to the workers like me that are doing that role right now. Like, this is a lot that we're doing with everything coming back from, quarantine and COVID to go into schools. Like, it's just give yourselves an applaud, and you know what? Take that break when needed. Take that mental health day off. We deserve it, and we need it just as much, especially like on today, thinking of World Suicide Prevention Day. Like, help, make sure you're helping yourself first.
Amen. Thank you so
Yes.
much. I really, really appreciate it. I think honestly, like, we just couldn't be so thankful that you were on today's call.
Oh, no,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your
You're
information.
welcome.
And
Yes.
thanks for helping so many people now.
Yeah, now honestly, like, a
Yeah.
lot of people are gonna listen to it, watch it, and they're gonna be like, "Holy shit!" Like, it's okay, like,
Yeah.
I'm always here. So anytime, contact me anytime. I'm always here and happy to help anyone.
And then shout out to yourself. You are a survivor, and you're over here helping others survive every day. How about
Thank
that?
Thank you.
We appreciate your work that you're
Thank
doing
you.
for our youth.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank
Take care.
you.
Have a
You
good night.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh my god,
I love
Like,
this.
bro. Like, honestly, like,
I was like 10 seconds away from crying.
me too. But I don't want to cry because actually, she said crying is like, so power to y'all that cry. But honestly, like, I love it here. We're using this space, YouTube, Spotify, whatever the fuck you listen to or watch us at,
Wisely.
wisely. Like, honestly, like, for real, like, and I mean, aside from Amana's, like, this is like alert, awareness, facts.
Yeah, and the other caller that I wanted to have, unfortunately we didn't have him, but he came to my mind, and his son came to my mind when she said, not just the quiet ones, it's not just the depressed ones. People tend to like say like, oh, está deprimido, cuídalo porque está deprimido, and stuff like that. And like in the podcast, he mentioned that his son was the life of the party.
Yeah.
And it's just, you never know what a person is going through. Not necessarily just teenagers, adults too, because I dealt firsthand with that,
Yeah.
and it's just, it was so stressful to see that the problems that person was having at that time,
You couldn't fix.
I couldn't fix.
Yeah.
And it got to that level where
That was the only option.
that was the only option. And it's so sad. And then too, we found out about people that are suicidal, and it's just, we think, and we're first to say and judge and say like, everything seems so good in their house. Everything seems so perfect in their house. Why would they? And it's just, we don't know what they're carrying. And so I'm so glad everything that she said really, lit up a light bulb in my brain, tiny
too.
brain. And it was just like, wow, that's so true. I never went through depression. I never,
You're very, very strong-minded. So for you, this is all new to you.
yeah. And then, but it went through my head. If growing up, I would have had suicidal thoughts and I would have mentioned it to mom or dad, they would have brushed it off. First of all, me metían mis putas. First of all, my dad would have been like, what the hell? Like, ponte a trabajar. No tienes nada que más pensar, ponte a trabajar. And that's so sad because it's like, it's so common in the Hispanic community for that to be the first thing you hear from your parents when you're seeking help, when you're raising your red flag and you're like, hey, SOS, and they're like, that's loca.
I'm out here.
Yeah, and it's just, it's so sad. So I really, like, if you guys have ever heard an episode of ours and know that we are full of shit and we talk out of our asses most of the time, this episode, please reach out to somebody that you think needs help, that have, raising those red flags, that have nobody there to help. It doesn't matter if they're an adult, it doesn't matter how old they are, because this has no age.
Yes, suicide has no age. So please use this episode wisely. Share it. Listen to us, watch us, whatever it is. But this is awareness. We're trying our best to use this space to just, like, wake people up because things are happening around us. And next thing you know, like, that could have been someone's sister, someone's brother, someone's partner, something. So please ask. I think on the suicidal.org page, it is okay to ask, like, do you feel suicidal? Do you feel some type of way of harming yourself? So you should reach out to your loved ones, your close ones, check up on them, ask them. And you know what? Just be straight up with them. Like, I think the other day I asked the group, our group and
Our family group.
Our family group. I was like, does anyone feel depressed? Does anyone feel some type of way? Like, we're very open. If you're very open to talk about stupid shit, ask about serious shit too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And like you said, I am very strong-minded. Maybe that's why, like, because I've gone through shit, hell and back.
You're very strong-minded.
But it's just I've never let anything make me feel like it's bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's the mentality in me where it's like I'm gonna prove people wrong.
Right.
That you know, it lifts me, but not everybody has that mindset.
No.
And it's crazy to me when I've heard, you know, the person that I'm talking about in my personal case. It's just like, oh, how am I gonna do this? And it's an easy step, but it's an easy step for me. But not everybody sees it like that. And it's just, that's when, you know, this big shadow comes on top of them and, you know, it oppresses them.
Exactly. So, guys, if you know someone who is going through depression, even if the normal ones that you wouldn't think would harm themselves, check up on your people, because your people need love, and you don't know when it could be the last time you can speak to them. So just ask them real shit about their life if you feel comfortable. But just ask. But yes, guys, this episode was very important. Like Cynthia said, we, you know, majority of the time we're always just hablando pendejadas, or just, you know, chisteando or whatever the fuck. Being goofy. Where our goofy ass is. But this is Suicide Prevention Month. I guess this week was like the mero week. So we wanted to do this. So once again, guys, once I ask something on Chingonas, talk about it, and make a post, I really want to hear from you guys. We didn't expose this person's name. She shared really good information. She shared personal information that could be someone's, you know, kind of like guidance, eye-opening, closure, if that makes sense. But keep an eye out for the little ones, the big ones, the middle ones, everybody, because suicide has no age.
Yeah, and make sure you're speaking to your kids. They go through so much. They really do.
Yeah.
Especially now with, you know, being, you know, homeschooled literally a whole year and them going back to school. It's really, yeah, it's really hard for them too. So make sure you guys are talking to your kids. If you're parents, make sure that you're talking to your nieces, your nephews. Just be involved in their life, because they go through so much, and it's shocking to see these numbers online where it's just they are the most, you know, vulnerable to think about suicide.
Yes. Shout out to that person who recommended the other person that just texted us that they're very excited to hear this episode. We are very excited. I can't wait to go and edit, actually, to be honest, and like have this ready for you guys on Monday. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, for sharing. I really hope this episode you guys share a lot. Even if you don't fuck with us, fuck with the topic. Yeah. How about that? Because we really want to bring awareness. You know, like we just said, family, not, you know, closer to us. There was a suicide this past week, and you know, that person on at least their social media seemed normal, right? That's what we're calling everybody, normal, quote unquote. So it was like a what the fuck, and it's just, I don't know, it's just fucked up. That, you know, they were successful. So maybe this episode we can change people's minds for a bit. Maybe be like, hey, maybe that's not the only option out there. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching, for supporting, for sharing, for listening to us, and I don't know, just being there every Monday.
Yes.
Until the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.